with That's Tough, I originally had the general idea for the song, but I didn't know who was going to feature on it. I had an idea, but I was like, I really want a way to find the perfect feature. Tal Cohen, who I met during the pandemic, actually, in 2020. The moment I heard him for the first time, I was like, all right, you're the guy. Never take for granted the journey that you have. Enjoy every single second of it. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. And everything, I can't stress this enough. Everything happens for a reason. Put your faith in God and understand that you are exactly where you need to be. Ryder had hit me up and he was like, yo, I think you're really fire. I'd love to send you some beats. This is nothing against Ryder, but when producers typically slide in my DMs and say that is like a okay, yeah, we'll see. It's kind of like I've heard this before type of thing. We got some singles on the way, a lot of cool, diverse singles that are kind of just showcasing different sounds.
Hey, if you're like me and you're interested in the YouTube or creator space, you should check out The Published Press. The Published Press is a completely free newsletter founded by YouTubers Colin and Samir. They host their own podcast talking to some of YouTube's largest creators. They've edited some of the best content I've seen on YouTube, and now they're sharing their knowledge about the YouTube space with you for free. The Published Press comes out 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with everything going on with your favorite creators and platforms. And like I said, it's completely free. Just enter your email address to receive the Published Press whenever it comes out, and that's it. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below, sign up to the Published Press, and get all the info you need on the industry. My guest today can both sing and rap. He blends introspective lyricism with captivating melodies, has been featured on Spotify's Spilled Ink and Fresh Finds hip-hop playlists, and released his debut album, Spleck, last year. Please welcome Kwajo to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm blessed, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy to have you on, have this talk with you, everything like that.
Me too, man. I'm excited.
Yeah. And so what was sort of your first experience with music like, or what made you find a passion for it?
So, my first, I would say, passion into really making music came from when I picked up guitar. Um, I grew up on like the Wiggles, and transitioned to Guitar Hero. And I was just always infatuated with the guitar. I kind of just like strummed around until I kind of taught myself. And then from there, from my love of guitar, I fell in love with bands like Paramore or Five Seconds of Summer. And then as I really got deep into them, I wanted, you know, to experience that for myself. So come middle school, my twin brother Shinobi and I and a couple other friends started this band called Too Young for This. Um, and if you go on my YouTube channel, if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll still see some covers that are still up. But yeah, that was my first real attempt at making music. And then obviously I'm transitioning out of that high school towards my latter half of my high school career. That's when I picked up hip hop and, started rapping a little bit.
Yeah, awesome. And for the guitar, was that acoustic, electric, any kind of guitar, or like what were you mostly
Yeah,
focused on?
so I started off on acoustic, but I got an electric pretty quickly and then just started flip-flopping between both.
Nice, awesome. And so when you were growing up, was there anything before music that you thought you would like try to do as a career or want to pursue, or was it just music from the start?
Yeah, I wanted to be a football player. I wanted to go to the NFL pretty bad. Uh, I love football. I still do to this day. Um,
You
but
watched the Super
as
Bowl?
I Oh yeah, I did for sure. That was a crazy game. People have their opinions, but I said from the
Yeah.
start, I said don't bet. You can't bet against Patrick Mahomes.
I was
So
watching with friends, and like at the end of the game when they just kept going without calling a timeout, I was like, they are way too confident in
yeah,
this. I was
I
like, I
know.
do not like this.
That's crazy. Are you a 49ers fan?
I'm a Steelers fan in general, but like
Got
of
you.
those two
Got you.
teams, like I mean, I like players on both the teams, but
Yeah,
like I was just sort of ready for the 49ers to win. Like Chiefs have had
right,
their share of Super Bowl wins, you
right.
know. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, it was just a great game. I was watching with one of my friends who's they're from like another country and didn't really know about football. And so
Right.
she like sat down not knowing the rules and by the end was like on
Mhm.
the edge of her seat like yelling at the
Oh my
TV.
gosh, that's hilarious.
And we were talking about like how close of a game, how intense it was. She's like, that sucks. Now every game that I watch is gonna feel so boring compared to this.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah, your first football game being the Super Bowl, the standards are set pretty high. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. And so I want to get more into like your debut album, Spleck, which you released. What's the story behind that? What does Spleck even mean? Like just whatever you can tell us about that album.
Right, yeah. So Spleck kind of culminated really my first year doing music. So back in 2019. The origin of the word is pretty funny. I have a full video explaining it on my YouTube channel, but essentially, me and my friends did this thing in high school where we would just kind of just splurt out random words that didn't have any meaning or couldn't be found in the dictionary, and like just say them like they were legitimate like phrases. And this is like I was just standing on my balcony or my porch balcony. I don't live in like a penthouse. But for whatever reason, it was just like a summer afternoon. The sunset was looked really pretty, and for whatever reason, the first three words that came to my mind were Spleck, Macchiato, and Rivera. And essentially, what Spleck was in that moment, and basically what it is today, is just like anything that evokes a good feeling, anything that represents good, and that could be subjected to whatever you think is good. If you think that, you know, Charmin Ultra Strong toilet paper is good, then that is Spleck, you know. It could be, you know, your partner, your favorite food, your favorite TV show, whatever. And that's what I really wanted Spleck to be. And early on in those stages, Spleck looked a little different just because obviously I was at a different stage in my career. Uh, my favorite album of all time is Care for Me by Saba. And essentially, you know, when first starting out in music, I tended to wear my inspirations on my sleeve and really try to emulate what my favorite rappers were doing. So the project looked a lot different back then than the final product just because I found myself just trying to copy and paste as opposed to create something on my own accord. But I'm just really blessed and grateful that God kind of sat me down and was like, all right, we're going to be a little bit more patient with this and let it take its time. And just over, you know, those past 4 years, it really allowed me to just be patient and allow Spleck to come on its own as I just lived more life, as I experienced things, as I became a better artist, a better songwriter. So yeah, so everything you hear um, today on Spleck is essentially a culmination of 2019 up until 2023.
Are you a music artist trying to find a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible? Then check out DistroKid. DistroKid is a super user-friendly and super easy-to-use service that will make your music available in stores like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, Snapchat, everything. Everything you could imagine, it's available. People will even be able to add your songs into their Instagram stories. DistroKid helps you with the distribution, monetization, and promotion of all of your music. Use the link in the description of this video for 7% off any DistroKid package you want. Pick from musician packages designed to help artists get their own music out there, or even get a label package where you can manage up to 100 artists from one profile. So that's more for like managers, labels, and you can also get the musician package that I mentioned earlier, which is more for artists, producers, things like that. It's super easy, and you can get 7% off any package right now with the link in the description of this video. So once again, if you're looking for a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible, I'm talking any platform you can think of, get DistroKid and get 7% off right now with the link in the description. Back to the program. With it taking 4 years, like you said, your mindset sort of changing or going from emulating to being more unique in yourself, is that just the songs that we have being changed around and switched, or are there entire songs that were put in and out of the project and sort of lost in the shuffle?
Yeah, so originally, I came up with the idea for Spleck in 2019, and I had about one or two beats that I wanted. But it wasn't really until the pandemic when I was isolated and really by myself that I really had time to slowly curate the tracks and put the track list together. So Before I Disappear and What Do You Need were both products of the pandemic. I produced both of those songs in the pandemic and kind of came up with the general ideas for them, but I didn't really make songs out of them until 2022, early 2023. Like I had most of the lyrics written, I had pieces of it, but everything didn't really come together until 2022. The same for actually no, the beat. I found the beat for That's Tough and Stay Up in 2019. And with That's Tough, I originally had the general idea for the song, but I didn't know who was going to feature on it. I had an idea, but I was like, I really want a way to find the perfect feature. And the feature Tal Cohen, who I met during the pandemic, actually in 2020. The moment I heard him for the first time, I was like, all right, you're the guy. So again, it was just one of those things where patience really allowed me to take my time and make this project everything that I wanted to be. Because originally, if I had released it, um, let's just say in 2020, my original concept for Spleck, it was going to be like a 4 song EP. It was going to be Sentimental, Stay Up, Before I Disappear, and then What Do You Need? But then obviously songs like Inside Out came along and all these other songs kind of came to fruition. So I was like, let me pump the brakes on this and really take my time and turn this into a full length project.
Yeah, that's great. And so when you're making like a song or even a bigger project like this, you mentioned like waiting for the right feature. Do you usually have in your mind like whether a song is going to be a feature or a solo track? Like, do you have that in mind ahead of time?
Yeah, so typically, just because I listen to a lot of different artists and like I have a sort of vision for what I want almost immediately. If I hear a song, um, I'll either write the whole thing right then and there, leave it alone, and then come back to it. And if I'm still feeling like that second verse isn't something that maybe isn't speaking to me at the right moment, I'll be like, all right, let me try and find a feature for this. Or there are moments where I find a song and like right away I automatically know who's gonna slide on this perfectly. So it's really a case by case basis, but most of the time I can differentiate between whether this is gonna be a solo song or a feature song.
Yeah. Yeah. And so is that just like part of your creative process? Like, or what does your process look like for creating songs in general?
So typically what I like to do is just kind of play the beat on loop and uh because of like my background in like pop music and that my love for music really came from like pop alternative punk. I typically try and go for the hook first and then build the verses around that. And just usually with the production and like how I'm feeling, it's really easy for me to just go, okay, this is something that I can tackle on my own. Or I mean, there isn't really a moment where I'm like, oh, I can't. There's no way I can finish this song on my own. It's more so like I just know if I sent it off to this person, they would take the song to a 10, to a 15.
Yeah, they would
So
make it
yeah,
better. It's not that you can't do
exactly.
it alone. It's that it would be better with someone else.
Absolutely. And I'm someone who loves collaborating. I never really had that lone wolf mentality, just because I feel like it can only get you so far. So I love the opportunity to work with, my friends, my good colleagues, and letting them shine on my tracks. If you come onto my track, I'm rooting for you to just completely obliterate me on my own song, you know? But that's tough. I remember when I sent it to Tall, um, the verse for his verse in it is pretty long. And originally I was like, yo, if you feel like it's too long, I can punch in like right where you leave off. And Tall's like one of the greatest rappers I've ever known. And he's like, bro, like, do you know who you're dealing with? Like, I got it. And just seeing him bring that track to life and really carry it has been like such a blessing because up until that song, he only had about one or two songs out on Spotify, didn't have that many listeners. And then That's Tough came out and, you know, God willing, it kind of just blew up. And Tall was able to reap the benefits of just going crazy on that song. So it's such a blessing and something that I'm super grateful for, just allowing other people to just come on my song and completely blow it out of the park.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like you truly giving the like your vote of confidence in someone or like, you
Right.
know, signing off on them and their talents. And so that's sort of the like a good overview of Spleck and all that. When you're trying to come up with an artist name, where does Kwajo come from?
It's actually my middle name. So my full name is Nathan Kwajo Yemedi. And Kwajo, so my family's from Ghana. I'm Ghanaian. And the actual pronunciation of it is Kojo. But I kind of Americanized it in a way because I knew that off rip, I mean, even with my last name, my middle name, it's never gonna be fully pronounced right, but I wanted to put my own little twist on it.
Yeah.
So Kwajo, yeah, that's my middle name. But it's funny because for when I first started making music, I had a bunch of different artist names, and I was like, I wanted a name that was putting on for, you know, who I am as a person, my heritage, and just, you know, stay true to who I was. And I was like, why don't I just use my middle name? Because growing up, I really didn't like my middle name at all. I think just because growing up in a predominantly white neighborhood, um, foreign names like that, just outside of the mispronunciation, I feel like they were just like misunderstood. But I was like, you know what? This was me kind of just claiming that, and claiming my identity and, you know, wearing it on my chest proudly.
Yeah. Awesome. And I think, you know, it's great that you found yeah, that, you know, it's could feel out of place, I guess, where you grew up. You're sort of
Yeah,
reclaiming that and making into like accepting it, and being like, yeah, I am Kwajo. Like that is my name, which
right.
is awesome. When you know, for an artist name, you have basically anything you can think of as an option.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and so, was there ever a moment, maybe it was the pandemic, that made you think about like taking a break from music or second guessing if there's something else you should pursue?
Absolutely. I think because the pandemic came so early on in my career, there was definitely a lot of moments of doubt for me just because I feel like everyone was kind of uncertain of what the future was going to look like.
Hmm.
And especially with TikTok kind of emerging and all these different artists using that pandemic to kind of blow up, I kind of had a sense of I kind of had a sense of doubt where I was like, you know, all these artists around me are using the pandemic to blow up. And here I am not really doing much. I've recorded like a song or two, but I really haven't done much. And I would have moments where I was kind of just like, you know, is this really, you know, the career for me? Like, do I have what it takes? Because, you know, I was like, there's a worldwide pandemic and everyone's home and I'm stressing over not making music and really extending myself. When in reality, no one really expects anything of me. You know, right now in a pandemic. So yeah, there were definitely a lot of moments where I was doubting myself. Um, but I'm just grateful and blessed that, you know, God kind of reminded me and gave me affirmation that, you know, this is exactly what you're supposed to do. Just be patient, you know, trust in me and everything will work out in the end.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like patience, that sort of like faith in God is a big thing for you that like, you know, affects a a lot of different parts of it. If you gave advice to maybe another young artist who's like just starting out, would those sort of be like your tips or advice to them, like patience, like making sure they're getting things right and like the best they can be? Or what would be your advice to younger artists?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the nail there. Speaking from experience, starting out music when I was 17, I thought there were deadlines when certain things needed to be accomplished. And especially, being surrounded by so many young artists who were kind of just taking off. One who is kind of close to me, who's a superstar right now, his name's Red Veil. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. But seeing people like him really take off at a young age, or having their moments when, you know, I'm here struggling to get 500 streams on a song, recognizing that your journey is so unique and independent to everybody else's. Your time will come when it's supposed to come, artists like JID, who bloomed kind of late into their 20s. And you have different artists like JPEG Mafia, who really blew up later than the latter half of their career, kind of outside of their youth in a sense. Um, but never take for granted the journey that you have. Enjoy every single second of it, because you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And everything, I can't stress this enough. Everything happens for a reason. So, put your faith in God and understand that you are exactly where you need to be, and just work towards that every single day. And I promise you, you'll get to where you need to go. I'm not where I need to be at all, but I have so much faith that I will be there, Lord willing. That I walk every day with such confidence, knowing that even if I have an off day, or even if I'm not recording when I really should be, that in the end, if I'm really passionate about this and really want it bad enough, I will get to where I need to be, because I have faith and patience that everything happens for a reason. So that would be my advice to a young artist who is maybe having some imposter syndrome about their artistry and the timeline of things.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's really important to keep in mind, and like just the whole thing with like the imaginary deadlines, or even as you were saying earlier, like people not caring, like it's not to the point that they don't care, but even with like whether it's this podcast or my music, I know I've done like, let's say do the Instagram promotion for an episode later, like later in the day, because I forgot earlier, and I'm like, oh my God, people are gonna know about the episode, blah blah blah, and it's like, chill out. Yeah, like there's gonna be time to grow. Doesn't matter that much. Like it's gonna be
Yeah.
fine. And just needing to remind myself of that is something that I've also found helpful.
Yeah, I'll say, just speaking for me, I feel like I've been in so many situations where I kind of lost sight of that, and God has literally like reaffirmed that, that everything is where it needs to be. I remember when Inside Out happened, that was kind of an anomaly in itself, just because the way it took off so fast. In my mind, it kind of set a standard for every song that followed, that it needed to be as fast or as successful right away, or it was
Yeah.
deemed a failure. Spleck rolled around. I dropped it May 30th, and my initial idea for the announcement about 2 weeks prior was to shoot an announcement video for it. We kind of had everything set up, but it fell through the videographer at the last second. And again, the doubt kind of seeped back in. Fast forward to those 2 weeks later, when Spleck dropped on May 30th. Uh, that was it was a random, I think it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I can't remember when it was, but out of nowhere, Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem decided to drop the Hillbillies on that same day. So right away, I'm thinking, that's just my luck. My debut project on a random Tuesday and Wednesday, and some of the two biggest artists of all time decided to just randomly drop a song on YouTube, right? So I kind of went through a period where Spleck had a slow burn, and in my mind, it kind of negated all the hard work and love I had for the project, simply because, yeah, it was getting love, at a very slow rate, but it was still getting love. But in my mind, I was kind of again negating everything, all the hard work that had led up to that moment. Um, but God kept reminding me, hey, like, you spent this much time on it, this is your debut project. Like, don't give up just because of these little inconveniences and bumps in the road.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think later in September, 4 months after the project was out, What Do You Need randomly got playlisted. And then later, late September, early October, That's Tough got playlisted. And then the resurgence of the project kind of just like, came back up. And I think that I truly believe that was God just kind of saying, hey, look, trust me, like I got you. Like, it may not seem like in the moment everything was going, the way you wanted it, but this is how I intended it to be. So sit back, and I'm confident that, some later down the line, whether it be 2 or 3 years, that Spleck will truly get the shine that it deserves. So again, I can walk with confidence every day knowing that everything will happen when it's supposed to be, even if Spleck is not relevant at all. Let's say in the next 2 months, and this was everything that it was. I'm grateful for the shine that it had. I'm grateful for just the fact that even one person was able to stream the project in full. So yeah, I'm just grateful. I have this saying where I coined the term forever in a constant state of gratitude, and I kind of just try and live by that because the blessing, big or small, waking up, being able to eat, being able to text somebody, call someone, being able to release a song. Like people don't understand, like, sure, on the outside to somebody making music is like a really easy task, but the stuff that goes into it, like being able to even like hear a final mix back is
Yeah.
such a grateful thing because a lot of people like, not to throw shade at anybody, but not everyone has the best mixes. Not everyone is able to um even write a song. Like I feel like writing a song is such
It's a
a
skill.
skill. It really is a skill, and to do it well. So when people like you reach out and say they want to interview me because you think a song that I wrote it's cool to some degree, like it stuck to you at some level, like that means the world to me, big or small. So again, I'm just forever grateful, and a constant state of gratitude that opportunities like that arise. And I thank you again, seriously, for reaching out and having this conversation.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, it's like just shown right here with like how grateful you are and your entire mindset to all this, that you're so humble. You have like a great head on your shoulders. Is there someone that sort of instilled that in you, whether it's like someone in your family or like another artist you look up to, or is that just sort of something you came to on your own?
Yeah. First and foremost, just definitely want to give all the glory and praise to my Savior Jesus Christ, just for I think that, learning about his love and learning about the grace that he showed me every day, regardless, in spite of the fact that, you know, I fall short, I sin, I'm not the best human being on the planet. I think that alone has kind of instilled this grateful attitude and demeanor in me. And of course, my mom, my family, my circle, the people who consistently choose to love me every day, my girlfriend. It just really puts into perspective, um, you know, because not everyone has, that's supporting cast around them. Not everyone has that loving circle. Even extending it to the artists I look up to. Um, Saba is somebody who I've really had the opportunity to get to know over the past couple of years. I met him when my first year doing music. I had the opportunity to meet him again in 2022. He's followed me, shown support, co-signed some songs, and just seeing how he moves. And he's just an amazing mentor for me in my young independent journey. Seeing him doing it at an elite professional level, yeah, I don't know, just everyone around me inspires me in some way, um, whether they're artists or not, whether they're making music or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm again, just not to be redundant or repetitive, but I'm just grateful for everyone around me, and all the lessons I've learned. So yeah, just everyone for real. That's the answer to your question.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And whether it's a song from Spleck or just another one of your singles, if there's someone listening who hasn't really heard your music, but now hearing this wants to get into it, what would you recommend as like a first song or a first listen for Kwajo?
Ooh, oof, 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 oof. Man. I would have to say the cult classic, probably Inside Out, would probably be a nice way to just get into who I am, like melodically and like lyrically. Um, but yeah, I'll say if you're looking for, oh my gosh, this is hard. I've never had to answer a question. Like I've answered questions like this for like other
Yeah.
artists, but like never for myself. Um, I'll say honestly, this has been like one of my favorite songs off Spleck, just because of the message and like the songwriting and how much it applies to my own personal life. And no pun intended, because we've been talking about it this whole time, but patience is taking her time. I feel like it really encapsulates just I don't know who I am as an artist, excuse me. But if I had I'm gonna break the rules a little bit and just recommend three songs. I'm gonna
All
do
good. Go ahead.
Inside Out, Patience is Taking Her Time, and I'll throw a Glow Stick in there. I'll throw a Glow Stick in there too.
hmm And I want to talk about that too, Glow Stick. I think it's your latest single or like a recent single of yours. What can you tell us about that? I mean, the like story behind it, anything. Yeah.
Yes. So Glow Stick was produced by Ryder Memo and Lobster Trapper. And Ryder had hit me up and he was like, yo, I think you're really fire. I love to send you some beats. And this is nothing against Ryder. But when producers typically slide in my DMs and say that, it typically is like a okay, yeah, we'll see. Like it's kind of like I've heard this before type of thing. But
Yeah.
Ryder sent me a pack of like 12 crazy beats. And like the moment I heard the first one, I was like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. And funny enough, Glow Stick, the beat for Glow Stick was the very last beat in the folder. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I need to make a song to this right away. I think I had a demo to him the next day or like within 24 hours. I can't remember. But I sent it to him and I don't know. It was one of those things like I feel like when I make songs, the best ones, like there's never like a certain formula to them. They either happen like right away, or I make them in an hour, or they take like 2 years, and I like come back to them in between those 2 years. But yeah, this is one of those songs that just like it happened so fast, and um, it was cool because like the inspiration for it, um, kind of I was just thinking in my head, I was like, how can I make a song that kind of encapsulates, you know, needing not how can I say this? It kind of goes back to like that lone wolf mentality I was talking about earlier. Kind of just showing that you need something in your life, um, that glow stick, so to speak. Whatever it is, your friends, your family, God, just something or someone to kind of light the way and lead you to your destiny where you need to be in life. Um, and that was like what was on my heart that night. So I instantly just made that song, and yeah, it just turned out so perfect. Overspace killed the mix like he always does, um, and yeah, it's turned out to be a banger. I'm so grateful for everyone who was a part of it, and yeah, Glow Sticks out now. Go stream that right now. Pause this right now, and
Yeah.
go listen to Glow
Pause
Stick.
this, go listen, and then come back here and finish
Yeah,
another
exactly,
conversation.
exactly.
Um, And I mean, it seems like all your music, whether it's Glowstick, Spleck, it has like meaning to it. You've really thought it out. You as a person, you're preaching, patience, glory to God. Is there a message you want to convey with like your career as a whole, or is there a message you want to send to people listening?
Yeah, for sure. I think above all, obviously, I just want music that brings glory to God, that spreads His message of just kindness and love, because it's all I've ever experienced for Him. So I want the entire universe to feel that, and I just want to be vulnerable and transparent and real. I'm not. My music sounds very happy, but I'm not always happy all the time. So just being vulnerable and transparent to that, you're gonna get songs like Closure, where things are, a lot more slower, and I'm really reflecting. And I just want to be real all the time. I want people to understand that, I'm not always going to be happy. I'm not always going to be sad. I just want people to understand me as a person, understand my story, um, and just be transparent and as vulnerable as possible, because I think there's so much beauty and vulnerability. Um, some of my favorite artists of all time do that. So I just, I just want to tell my story, be as authentic, can't talk, as authentic and real as possible. While spreading the love of God.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's really important that you sort of have this like what you want fans or listeners to take away from being a fan of you and
Yeah,
listening. You're not just sort of there, not that that would be a bad thing, but
right,
you're not just sort of
right,
releasing music, doing whatever. You do have some kind of overarching message that you want them
right.
to take in and share. And with your fan base in mind, what level do you want to reach with your music? Is it, just want to get to the point where it's sort of what you're doing as a career, or do you want to go farther into like, trying to be one of the biggest artists in the world?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I think about this a lot, especially when I first started making music. Like, obviously, the idea and thought of stardom is like super breathtaking and like, super appetizing, selling out arenas, going to a grocery store, not even being able to shop. But for me, it's really just financial stability, financial freedom, just waking up, doing and being able to do what I want to do without any limitations. And more so just like having an impact above all. Um, just pushing longevity and impact nonstop, and being able to just be a beacon of hope, be a source of inspiration to whoever listens to my music. I don't have to be the biggest artist in the world, but if I can impact everyone who listens to my music, then that's all I can ask for, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you've mentioned a bunch of artists that you're a fan of throughout this. I mean, Saba, Kendrick Lamar. Like, if you had a chance to make a song with any artist in the world, who would you want to work with?
Oh man, definitely Saba's at the top of my list. Uh, I would go Saba, Amine, Healy, Enoch. There's so many. There's so many. We got Semino, Chris Patrick, Red Veil, Cautious Clay. Like the list goes on and on and on. Like
Yeah,
I'm so inspired by everything I listen to. 5 Seconds of Summer, Paramore. I feel like it's literally a never ending list. So a
a lot
lot
to
of
get
cool
to.
people. Yeah, a lot of cool people I want to work with before it's all said and done.
Yeah, awesome. And sort of in like a similar vein, do you have a bucket list venue that you like would want to play a show at one day?
Yeah. Definitely the Fillmore. It's a venue in Washington, D.C. I've seen Saba perform there. I've seen Denzel Curry, Red Veil. I think it's just like a staple venue in the DMV area. That's kind of a venue that, artists perform at, when they've made it, quote unquote. So just being able to do a venue of that size, in my hometown, home area, that would mean the world to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just, as a way to sort of start wrapping things up, we're getting closer to the end. What's sort of next for you, or what's coming up?
Yeah, so we got some singles on the way, a lot of cool, diverse singles that are kind of just showcasing different sounds. And but later on, I would say in about a year or two, I don't want to put a pin on it. But we got the second project on the way. Uh, we've been working at that for a little bit now, kind of right after Spleck dropped. We've slowly been working on it, piecing that together. It's nowhere near um, formed in any way. We got some ideas and things we want to do, but we're definitely still working at it. But yeah, a lot of cool music is being made right now, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I do want to thank you again so much for coming on, and just for the last segment of this, or the sort of to end things off, I have a little thing that I like to do called Know Your Stuff, where I'm gonna play quick snippets of your music, and the goal is
Oh
to one,
God.
and the goal is to one, name what song it is, and then also, if you want, you can just talk about like the story behind it, anything that you want to bring up about it that we didn't get to while talking.
Fire. Oh gosh. I hope. Oh gosh. I hope I don't
I'm
forget my
sure
own
you'll be fine.
song.
There's no stress.
Yeah, let's do
All
it.
right. All right. Let me know if you can hear this.
Spleck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
so that
yeah.
oh sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we've like talked plenty about the project as a whole, everything, but I do want to get into the song a bit more on its own. So yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead and
Yeah, so that one is featuring the homies Edwin and Malcolm from Half and Half, produced by Cashland, Asher Broadbent. But this song, uh, kind of the song title, obviously. The last song in the project is kind of just about um, again, just circling back to that theme of just patience, and kind of just letting things go, the healing process. You can't rush things, but you also can't elongate them. Kind of just letting it take its time, whatever timeline that is. Just keeping the pace and letting things flow, and understanding that the mistakes you make don't define who you are as a person. It don't define, never defines your career, your future, um, your past. I'm just understanding that it's okay to experience these things, but just understanding that you need to let them go and release them so you can kind of move on with life. So that's essentially what Spleck is, the title track.
awesome. Yeah, yeah. And I think it is a good way to sort of embody like the whole message of Spleck in general.
Right.
All right, next one we got.
I got.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So this one, wow, I dropped this back in like 2020. It's actually funny. I'm not originally from Richmond, Virginia, but I shot the music video for this in Richmond. And I'm currently here right now because this is where my girlfriend goes to school, and I'm visiting her this weekend. Um, but yeah, this is one of my favorite songs that I've ever made, just because of the message. I feel like a lot of my songs kind of say the same things in different ways. Like, um, this was me kind of just like evaluating where I am and where I need to be. Uh, and kind of just understanding that you have to do things the right way to get to where you need to go. Um, and that, it's up to me to do the right things, to put myself in a position to succeed. And, just putting my head down and having my head on straight on the right things. Just trusting God and understanding that as long as I do these little things, that we'll we'll be all right. We we got some treacherous battles ahead, but understanding that as long as we're focused on the right things, got the right mindset, we'll be all right.
It's all about the mindset.
Right. Seriously. It all starts up here.
Yeah. All right, and then the last one that I have for you today is
What do you need? This was one of the pandemic baby songs. This one again produced by me. Uh so the concept for this one, essentially, I kind of used some real life inspiration for this. So fun fact, Before I Disappear and What Do You Need are kind of a two two-part song. But What Do You Need is essentially about a toxic relationship in which um one person isn't communicating what they want, and when the other person is kind of fed up and doesn't want anything to do with it anymore, they kind of move on. But said person comes back and it's like, oh, like, I want to rekindle things, blah, blah, blah. But they're very toxic in with how they communicate. And it's just not a good situation at all. So, what do you need is essentially me communicating with that person, like, yo, like, what do you need? Like, I'm done. Leave me alone. Like, we're closing this chapter. Like, it was cool while it lasted, but this is not something that I want to be involved with emotionally, spiritually, physically. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of What Do You Need.
yeah, awesome. And it is, I haven't seen all of your videos, but that is one that I watched that I really liked and think,
Yeah,
it's a great video, especially like for the meaning of the song. I think you really capture it in a good way.
I appreciate that. Yeah, shout out my boy
Yeah.
Andrew for throwing that whole thing together, directing it. We actually shot it at his house too, kind of last second as well. And shout out my girlfriend for playing my toxic ex when she is in fact my very healthy, beautiful girlfriend. So
She is
I
in
appreciate
fact
her.
the person you
Right.
went to in the story of the song. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Those are all the questions I had for you today. So thank you so much for coming on. But music, socials, anything you want to shout out or promote, feel free to do it now.
Yeah, again, I just want to appreciate you for taking the time to invite me on the show. I know we've been trying to do this for a little bit, so I appreciate your patience and
Yeah, of course,
sticking
of
with me
course.
through the tough schedule. But yeah, if you want to check me out on all platforms, you can search me at Kwajo, Kwajo. Any social media is Kwajo with three O's, so Kwajoo. And yeah, stay tuned for more music.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll leave a link to some of that down below. And truly, thank you for coming on. I'm glad we got to sit down and do this.
Seriously, me too. I appreciate you so much, man.